ho, hello, and welcome to Page Turner's podcast, a festive series. Christmas is coming, and we're bringing you the big gift of Crimbo content as we discuss a few seasonal reads and everyone's favourite guilty pleasure, cringy Christmas cinema. Join us throughout the month as we count down to the big day together. Welcome to your new favourite book club. Hi, Liv, how are you?
I'm well, thank you, Amy. How are you? I mean, that's a lie. I've been up all night with the dog. The dog's ill. Why would I just lie to Why would I just lie to all of our best friends? Why would I do that?
To be honest, though, I was just about to say, yeah, I'm good, thanks. I'm not good. I've got a cold. Oh,
Couple of
yes.
liars. Oh, yeah, no, dog's not very well. Long story short, up to my elbows and shit. But
No.
she's okay now. She's sleeping peacefully. But if at any point there's a longer period that I can't edit out later, guys, that's because I've had to run to the back door to shove the dog outside. So
Oh, poor puppy.
yes. How are you? Other than the cold, what has been? You're currently on a little jolly about, not necessarily an abroad jolly or anything, but had a few days off. What's the one thing you're looking forward to doing on these days off?
I'm looking forward to going to Edinburgh tomorrow. I think it's going to be extremely festive. We're going to go and maybe do Christmas markets, but maybe not. But just being soaking up the atmosphere, getting into the Christmas spirit. I'm looking forward to it. I'm also very much looking forward to not really doing very much today and Friday, though. We just need some time to chill, I think. It's been
Yeah.
busy. And yeah, just watching Christmas films, putting up the Christmas tree, all that's good stuff.
What Christmas films have you watched yourselves outside of the podcast so far?
None, nothing, nothing at all. I'm very much looking forward to it. We've only the last Christmas film we have watched together was Hot Frosty, and I
Oh,
haven't watched any since. So it's the time now. I'm funny about watching Christmas films before December. I did
yeah.
it for the podcast because I'm very committed, but I don't tend to do that. So we'll put one on today when we're putting the tree up.
Nice, nice. Do you have a traditional one that you put the tree up to?
Probably something like The Grinch, How the Grinch Stole Christmas, or maybe like Jingle All the Way, or something like that. I don't know.
Oh, oh yeah.
Something quite nostalgic. I would never put a new Christmas film on to put the tree up.
Oh no, because you'd be spending your entire time watching the TV and not
Yeah,
putting.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hmm. So you have been away.
Yes.
Tell us how your trip was to Budapest.
Yeah, Budapest was great. I would say if you're going because it's like it's been the best Christmas market like for the last 3 out of the 4 years or whatever. Has that been awarded by the Budapest Council? Because they was good. Don't get me wrong. Like it was busy. There was like a little bit extra more than just the huts. They projected some stuff onto the basilica, which was beautiful. And there was two markets, sort of two main markets in the city. But I think they focused more on the food and the drink, which was fine, than they did on like the sort of like stalls and things.
Okay.
But I just feel like there wasn't as we were hoping to go and buy like a bauble to have like a memory of Budapest or whatever, or like a few little bits for the house, and there wasn't really that there. We managed to get some bits, but not what I was after. But I will say in its favour, despite it's just maybe about 30 stalls, there wasn't a huge amount of overlap like you'd get in the UK, where it was like you'd walk 3 steps down and they'd all be selling the same thing. Like
Okay.
so, but
Yeah.
we had mulled Guinness.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
I also had mulled cherry beer. It was really nice actually. Alex is sort of can attest to the fact that mulled Guinness is delicious. But no, Budapest was really nice. We We met some nice people. We struggled through Hungarian, and we had a nice time.
Good. I am pleased. Mulled Guinness doesn't sound the nicest, but I take Alex's recommendation on board. So if I ever an opportunity have it, I will try it. But yeah, not my thing.
Mm, Yeah, normally I like a Guinness, but the mulled cherry beer was nice to be fair. But then
Well, that sounds good.
we were a few mulled X's down, so whether we were already pretty merry and that was affecting our judgment, who knows? But no,
Once you start mulling, that's it. Once things start to be mulled, you're off the deep end.
absolutely, yeah. No, there was mulled toothpaste. There was mulled. There was just getting silly, just getting silly. Um, what are you currently reading?
I'm still reading Red Winter. Yeah, but I am actually enjoying it. Like I don't mean like, oh, I'm actually enjoying it like I didn't expect to enjoy it. I'm not reading it because I haven't had a chance to read it or I'm not enjoying it. It's very beautifully written. It's really immersive and it's just quite wholesome. Like, yeah, quite different to what I would normally read. As I say, there's a romantic element. It's not front and center. So if that's more your thing and you want romanticy, probably not necessarily your bag, but I do recommend it if you want something wintry to read rather than Christmassy. Yeah, having a good time with it. What about you?
I finished 12 Days of Murder.
Was it?
Despite my dad's description of poor, wasn't that bad. It was, yeah, it was good. It was good. It was a little like, do you know, I don't know if you, maybe you will know more than me, but in like murder mystery type things or like crime thrillery type things, I
Mhm.
don't like when it's like, oh, it's this person. Oh no, it's this person. Oh no, it's this. Like
Yeah.
I don't mind when the narrator puts in those clues and you're like, oh, maybe it's this person. But when in the plot, it's like, no, the characters get together and they're like, no, obviously, clearly it's this person, and then that's disproved a couple of chapters later. That was a little bit. I felt like it was trying to make it longer than it was, but overall, I enjoyed the vibes and I enjoyed sort of the reveal towards the end. Yeah, no, pretty good. I like middle of the road. Good
Do you
read.
think your dad's thoughts on it were too harsh, or do you kind of agree where he was going with it?
I spoke to him and he definitely thinks that Poor was probably harsh. And I agree that Poor is probably harsh, but yeah, I just think he was a bit like meh. But then that's his genre. He loves a murder mystery, so I sort of argued that maybe he needs something to be like really wowing for it to really make him excited about the book. But I've also just finished Foxglove by Adeline Grace.
Wow, a revisit because
Yeah,
finished Belladonna months ago.
I know, and I got halfway through Foxglove on Spotify Premium listening, and I just thought, sod it. I'll keep listening or I'll read it. I actually think you would like Foxglove way more than Belladonna.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
so much so I've gone straight on to Wisteria.
All right. Okay, I'm going to need to give it a try then if it's coming with that high a recommendation because it's
But
very rare that the second book's better than the first.
well, I think the main problem you and I had with the first book is that it's the mystery, right? The mystery was a bit like, what? What? Whereas
Yes.
this time around in the sort of mystery or murder etc is it actually makes sense and it's kind of buried the lead and there's a few people and it's like oh, okay what's happening here and I yeah no I thoroughly enjoyed Foxglove.
Cool. And did you like the new characters addition? Because I know from reading the very start of it, there is a new character that comes in.
Yes that character is very good. Yes.
Okay, right. I love it. Okay, we can't put this off much longer. Maybe in some ways I'd like to, but we can't. We promised the people, and the time has come. Liv, please tell everyone what have we read this week?
Well, with an introduction like that you'd think they'd already know if they follow the law of this podcast. Such a momentous introduction from you would tell people that this week, Amy, we have read The Christmas Tree Farm by Laurie Gilmore, a Dream
Mhm.
Harbour number 3. Yeah,
We've read it.
we've read it.
Um, yeah,
Thank you all for
let's
coming.
not give anything away, but not as bad as I thought.
Hmm.
There were some points whilst I was reading it, I was having a good time.
Holy shit. Holy shit. That is very big of you to admit, Amy. Very, very big of you.
Thank you.
I believe this week we have a summary from yourself. You have pre-warned me that it could be bitchy, So,
Could be a bit. Could be a bit bitchy. Let's just see.
right,
Okay.
we believe in you.
Thank you.
Three, two, one, go.
Kira wants to learn to stand on her own 2 feet after her sister got married and moved to Denmark. She buys an old Christmas tree farm in Dream Harbour, but originally plans not to actually sell Christmas trees until she soon realises money can be exchanged for goods and services and organises a grand reopening. Jeannie from Book One's brother Bennett is visiting and has a white knight complex on steroids. He realises how tough things are for Kira and makes it his mission to help her out. The grand reopening of the Christmas tree farm is announced at the magical Festival of Lights and Joy, and business booms. A snowstorm sees our lovebirds trapped, and they do the deed and confess their feelings. Kira makes Bennett promise he will go back to his normal life after New Year's Eve, as she is a quote unquote mess. Bennett tells Kira an old legend of hidden treasure on the farm, and they plan to find it together. Cute holiday hijinks ensue, and the pair find smutty letters in the attic from Edwin to Ellen of Christmas Tree Farm lore and do the horizontal tango once more. Feelings deepen as Christmas approaches, but the third act breakup is looming. Kira is spooked by her strong insta-love feelings and ends things. Bennett leaves Dream Harbour before New Year's Eve, and Kira is gutted. The final chapter starts with a Taylor Swift lyric, and inspired by this and the sexy missives from earlier, Kira writes Bennett a letter confessing her true feelings. Bennett replies with a romantic scavenger hunt, which ends with himself. He's back. Yay! Love is confessed and more sexy time takes place. As Ben explains, he's staying. Flash forward to summer, and the final part of the Christmas bow is tied tight as a treasure, brackets antique jewellery, is discovered.
First of all, I mean, I know it's just me and you here, but that is probably the best summary we've ever had.
No.
Um, and 1 minute 30.
I wrote that at 20 past 1 this morning.
I did have this weird one. I did text you yesterday being, oh yeah, we're on for whatever time this morning. And you text me back and I went, Amy, why are you awake? And I went, oh, no, you're on holiday, so it doesn't matter, does it?
No, because I had the cold, I had that horrible thing when you wake up in the night and you're like very congested. So I had to get up and like go downstairs, have a lame sip, and then come back to bed because I just kept like choking when I tried to lie down. I couldn't sleep. So
Wow.
yeah.
Painting a beautiful picture of
Oh, six the times. So I thought let's get this summary written whilst we've got some time.
nice. No, I like the summary. I don't think it was overly bitchy. I thought, I think you got in the main points there. Um, so yeah, straight off the top, obviously we have read the entire, well, we are up to date with the entire Dream Harbour back catalogue. I mean, obviously, back catalogue is a bit much, that's three. How would you rate this in and amongst Pumpkin Spice Cafe and Cinnamon Bun Bookstore?
I'm gonna go with pumpkin spice sitting at the top spot,
Okay.
this coming in second, and cinnamon bun third.
And no surprise of anyone, Cinnamon Bun Bookstore is third. I disagree.
Did you like this one more?
This was I but then I don't know if it's because obviously we read Pumpkin Spice quite a while ago. I know that Cinnamon Bun Bookstore is slap bang at the bottom. Um,
Mhm.
I do think this I had less problems with this than I remember having with Pumpkin Spice. But yeah, no. Well, let's get into it. Let's see. Um,
Ivan.
my first thought was, oh Christ, her name's Kira North. What, like the North fucking Pole? Brilliant. How original.
I know. Kira, snowman. I mean, I know. We know. Mm.
It must have killed her to make it Ben, make it Jeannie's brother, so that she couldn't give him a fun Christmas nickname.
I know. He couldn't come along and be, yeah, he couldn't come and be someone new. Did you think it suffered from the fact, I know we can discuss this with character, but it's a bit, well, I mean, it's very similar to the other two, I would say, and that someone new has to rock up to the town and then they become the kind of romantic interest. How did you feel about the fact it wasn't really either of them weren't really established characters because Kira joined us last book,
Yeah.
and although we've met Bennett in book one, we have never had him as a cast member as such in the story. Do you think it suffered for that, or do you think it was better because of that?
Well, The issue being is, I think the main issue we had with Cinnamon Bun Bookstore is that Annie mainly is not established at all, despite being a character in the first book as well. So I don't think at first I wasn't worried because I was like, well, if there's going to be need character development, it doesn't matter, right? Like even if they're established or not. I think the fact that they were new forced character development or
Mhm.
forced like at least a character setup or a backstory or whatever. So we did manage to get something, and also something I well not realized in Cinnamon Bun Bookstore we don't get a POV from Noah, right?
No, I think this is the first time we've had a
Uh,
kind of split.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that lent itself to actually making me like both parties and making me give a shit.
Hmm. Hmm.
Didn't mind that they were new, and if anything, I don't because we're not really Dream Harbian fangirlies. It doesn't really matter that they weren't part of the town. If anything, it was probably a blessing that they weren't part of the town.
I think,
Although
yeah, the town is full of so many really like typecast characters. Like, oh, the book club are all obsessed with like shipping the new characters together, and the mayor has dreams that predict the future. We've had that quite a lot now, so I didn't really miss not having to hear about that again.
yeah, there was that annoying thing where, of course, because both of them are new and don't really know how Dream Harbour works, there was that come to the town meeting. Oh, isn't the mayor so kooky? Oh, this is just how things are done in this town, boyo.
Why are we at another town meeting? We've had town meetings in every book. Maybe this is something she intends to do with all the books because it's like that little like, oh, we're at the town meeting again.
Yeah.
But yeah, we've done it and nothing new gets told to us at any of these meetings. So
Well, it's a major plot point, right? Though they're used to carry the plot for there to be a reason. I really thought I was going to hate this book when we had the first town meeting because I wrote a really big paragraph about how I don't know how, she doesn't manage it, but how Laurie tries so hard to make us not vilify an entire town to peer pressure a young man who's coming here to visit his sister for Christmas to go up to a fucking place he's not welcome, that no one's welcome, and poke around on somebody else's property for treasure under the guise of like, oh, maybe there'll be a body. They just want drama. They don't.
just drama in their little town. You're in this little idyllic, cutesy Hallmark town. Why are you trying to find dead bodies?
Um, and I'm really glad that because that classic thing of like, oh, she's gonna find out that that's the only reason he's coming up here. I'm glad
I love
that was
saying.
that was nipped in the bud very fast. I think he mentions it the first time they bang, and it was very much just like, oh, isn't that hilarious? What are these fucking idiots? Sweep, sweep, sweep under the rug. Thank you.
Mhm. I am glad that wasn't the conflict. However, I did find the conflict to be exceptionally weak. That she just feels that they shouldn't be in a relationship because she is a mess and is figuring things out. But there hasn't really been much evidence that she is a mess up to this point, apart from the fact that she's very close to her sister. Her sister's kind of went out and done her own thing, and she feels like she's never really been able to do that because she's quite privileged. She's came from a very wealthy family. Yeah, I don't know.
We kept getting illusions, and I kept wondering if we were going to get sort of like something that really painted her as this unredeemable, well, a semi-believable element of being unredeemable in her eyes. And we did get a little bit with her housekeeper, who basically Kira mentions that she was there every day and making our beds and everything like that, and then she's sick one day and she's out of a job, or like we refused to pay her or something. She couldn't afford her kids' school. I was like, I don't think that's how laws work. But then in my head I was like, it's America, it's the rich. I'm sure that if they wanted to get rid of her, they probably could. Um, but I was just sort of like, that's your sort of wake up call. I thought it might be a bit more than that. And then to be like, where's your trust fund? Oh, I donated most of it. Right, yeah, because you're such a horrible person.
Exactly. I think. Laurie struggles to, and I understand why in a way, struggles to make the characters negative at all because it is supposed to be very low stakes,
Yeah.
happy ever after. Like, I get it, but it, it doesn't really give, there's no drive to the plot. There's nothing that you're waiting for. There's no big reveal. There's no consequences to anybody's actions. So it's almost those stakes are too low for me to care.
Yeah. Do you think also, I'm not necessarily speaking out in defense, but of this book, but do you think you and I are potentially looking for something that's never going to come?
Yes, 100%. Like if you go into this and you just realize it's going to be like a Hallmark film in a book, then you're going to get everything you want from it.
Just the thing is, though, I mean, look, I can't name one, but some Hallmark films do have an edge, right? There's, you know,
But a little bit.
they they at the very least know what they are, and their third act breakup, conflict, etc., is generally always a miscommunication, or somebody feels some way, or someone feels betrayed, or whatever. That is, I mean, look, not necessarily always fleshed out, but there's always that element of believability of like, oh yeah, no, I could see how that would happen.
Hmm.
I don't know though, but you are right. It is. I keep forgetting that the Dream Harbour series is based Gilmore Girls and Hallmark movies. Yeah,
Yeah, and as I read it, I kept reminding myself of that and thinking, do you know what? This isn't for you. You're not keen on this kind of book. There are millions of people who do enjoy reading books like this. So, but yeah, we're just giving our opinion of it. And we've read the other two. We might as well try this one.
and we've got two more to go.
Oh no, can't wait for it.
How did you feel from a sort of? I mean, I think the dual POV really helped with. We both got the sense Kira didn't want him there, but then, oh, it's kind of hot, so maybe I do. Like, we don't ever come into any worrying consent issues that he keeps coming around, right? Like, because if there was only
Yeah.
one POV and if it was only Bennett's, could you imagine how fucking creepy and won't take no for a fucking answer that would have come across as?
Just yeah, I agree. And I just found him like just I don't know. I don't want to be just be unnecessarily mean, but I wasn't the biggest fan of the character because he just seems so weak. Like everybody just seemed to take advantage of him, and I know that he liked active service, and he had a white knight complex, and he was obviously really keen to save Kira, whether she wanted to be saved or not. And I think you could argue that in some ways she maybe did, because you're right, there was never any issues with consent, I don't think, but for me it wasn't a likable character trait.
Yeah.
And I know we got a little bit of development at the end when he decided to tell his ex, like, no, you can't just use me for Christmas. Like, okay, that's obviously him supposed to be developing that side of his character, but it wasn't enough of a character trait for me that he just likes to do things for people.
I also think I didn't mind Bennett so much, and I like that we did get something like this is a flaw, and we are going to work on this. And the tone of my voice suggests I've done air quotes because I have. You're right. Like the only reason he probably says no to his ex is because he's in love with Kira, not because he grows as a person. But I think my major gripe with it is I would have liked to have delved a bit more into why he has that complex.
Exactly.
Like
Yeah.
Jeannie doesn't. Like, yeah, she likes to
No,
help people, but not to her own detriment.
no.
Um, if anything, I found that Jeannie knew that Bennett has this complex, and she bullies him in the town meeting, knowing full well that he will help them.
Yeah. She takes complete advantage of it, which as his sister is a mess.
Yeah. My
Because no one else really knows that about him. She knows it about him and she uses it to get what she wants him to do. Um, yeah, I mean it was sweet, I agree. I think there was definitely something that had to be said around why. Why does he feel that way? What's happened in his past that makes him feel that he needs to prove himself to people by doing things for them?
Yeah.
I don't know. We didn't find out. So,
Yeah, and maybe it's because you and I are therapy girlies.
mm-hmm,
We
mm-hmm. Could be.
that we ourselves are sort of like, yeah, but that comes from somewhere, like it just felt as if this was probably better in terms of character flushing out and actually having depth, etc. But
Yeah.
it just didn't go all the way. It
I
just
felt like it was a bit like Laurie's equivalent of, if you get asked the question in an interview, like what's your biggest weakness? And you might say like, I'm just too much of a perfectionist. It's like I'm just too committed to work. Like I can't shut off. And it felt a bit like she was trying to give him a flaw so that he could have a bit of dimension to his character, but the flaw was he's just too helpful.
yeah, he's just but then I also hated the he's too nice. He's the nice guy, but he's also a freak in the sheets. So
Oh,
it
I
makes
didn't like it, Liv. It was too cringy. We'll talk about the sex scenes in a minute because I'm sure we want to discuss those. Because there's a few. There was a good couple.
yeah, no.
Yeah, it didn't do it for me though, that whole like and she said at one point, like, I couldn't tell Jeannie that her brother was like a good guy in the streets and a freak in the sheets. No, you fucking cannot tell her that. Why would you even want to tell her that?
Why would you want to use those words in that order in a sentence to describe anyone? Yeah. Yeah, yeah. It's I this may be overly mean, but we're here now and we're 3 books deep. So if anything, she's getting 6 solid sales, so we have the right to say whatever we want. Do you think Laurie has heard these terms at some point, written them down and gone, oh yeah, nice guy on the streets, freaking the sheets, like, oh yeah, no, that's a good, yeah, no, no, yeah, no, oh, I'll have that for later. Like, fucking hell.
Hmm. And who doesn't, even people that use those, unless they have got zero self-awareness, even people that say things like that, I feel like no one really says that in earnest. I
Oh,
feel like everybody is being very tongue-in-cheek when they say it.
yeah,
So
no, absolutely not. I
don't
don't
use it as a plot device, please.
I don't even remember the beginning of it. Like it's not nice guy. It's not some. It's is it like
It's lady. It's if it's for women, it's like lady in the streets, freak in the sheets.
oh, so it's sexist then.
Oh yeah, it's sexist, of course. Maybe
Fantastic.
Laurie wanted to subvert that. Maybe she was taking that back. I don't
Maybe
know.
only if she
No.
comes out in an interview and says that, like, oh, I wanted to subvert the lady in the streets, freaking shit. But the thing is, there is a lot of literature already out there, and I'm saying literature broadly that says like, oh, the nice guy's such a hot guy in bed. Sure, great, but
Yeah.
you and I are quite difficult to please in that regard. So we are very much holding this to a higher standard that perhaps we don't or we shouldn't. But we're doing our best.
I like
And
talking about it anyway.
yeah, yeah, and that's as good as it's gonna get. Um, so the major sort of plot point of the story is essentially you got 2 things. Bennett's up there because the town knows that there's something buried on the land. And they're convinced it's a dead body for some reason because someone can't be secretive and just in love quietly, apparently. No, he has to have killed his wife if he wasn't out and about her. And then the other one is that Kira has sunk all of her money into this because she saw 1 or 2 Instagram reels or TikTok reels about sustainable farm life living.
Yeah. Yeah. She's a Pinterest girly. She's made a board. She's romanticized this existence. And now she deeply regrets it when she realizes that actually this is going to take a lot of hard work. Yeah.
Fully empathize with Kira because we've all been there. We've all done something and gone, I could do that, and then it's fucking difficult.
Mhm. Yeah.
Do we spend what I imagine is hundreds of thousands of dollars on a Christmas tree farm? No. But yeah, so she never intends to actually have a Christmas tree farm. She,
No.
like you said in the summary, she intends to use it to sort of make herself self-sustaining, which is her sort of Bennett's too nice, Kira's not nice because she's afraid if she's too nice, people will try and help her. And
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
sort of an
Mm.
ego or pride thing for her because she thinks she doesn't deserve help because she's had a solid leg up.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But surely, surely, if you sunk all of your save, like she's not stupid. She doesn't come across as stupid,
No, not at all.
except from some of these decisions she makes or some of the things she says. She's like, oh, I just thought I'd be able to get here and then there'd be pickles and chutneys or whatever, or I'd be able to do this. It's like, no, no, you're gonna need the money to to buy this place, sure, but you don't sink every penny you've got. You need to make money to, you know, it's a Christmas. I mean, granted, I think Laurie gets around that by saying that she bought it sight unseen, which I'm like, I still think even if you bought it sight unseen, you'd know if it was a Christmas tree farm that there ain't gonna be like things just growing that ain't Christmas trees.
No, exactly. And I think we've had sight unseen used as an excuse before with Jeannie, didn't we? That she inherited the cafe and didn't really know much about it. So
But no, because I don't know, because didn't she go there every, so I suppose when it was you when she was younger, right? Yeah, maybe
yeah.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I agree. And I actually think her plan for like the summer, because I thought, well, what are you going to do in the spring and the summer? Like, what's your plan to do once, the Christmas season is past? But actually, she did have a solid plan for that, and that she wanted to grow things. Fine. But totally underestimated how much effort is required to do that.
I almost like imagined her standing there being like, I've got to I've got to do something. Like it doesn't just pop out the ground. I was like, what did you expect?
I know. She thought she was in Stardew Valley. She thought she had her little complement of tools and she was just going to go along one little row at a time and water those parsnips and it was all going to be good.
Did it seem as if the only thing that was going to be growing was cucumbers?
Well, she seemed to be quite heavily interested in growing cucumbers because that's all she ever spoke about. And I'm pretty sure in the epilogue that is what's growing.
It is, yeah. Um, I don't think one human can subsist on pickled cucumber alone. Um,
I don't think Dream Harbour needs that many pickled cucumbers.
Maybe there's a pickled cucumber book coming.
M- Maybe there might be after the gingerbread one. That could be the next.
What would we call it? What would it? It would be the pickled cucumber man, or
Man.
the, because it would have to be like, it would probably be like a guy who's traveling, who's like a, not a merchant, that's an old type, but like the veg guy or like a grocer or something.
Yes, a
Maybe,
bit like in Gilmore Girls.
yeah, Suki's
Yeah,
husband. Yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Jackson. Yeah, and it
Jackson.
fits
Yeah.
perfect. Oh my God, this thing writes itself. No wonder she's written so many.
I, do you know that is the thing? I understand why she's written so many. I get it, and I know what the next one is. I know it's Iris's story. Um, I'm not. I don't. It's a single dad that comes to town, and fine. It does write itself. Introduce new character, comes into Dream Harbour, opens a business of some description, meets one of the already established characters. Some kind of mystery goes on. Boom, we're out. Like it does, it writes itself. So in a way, I understand why she's so committed to the formula.
What I love is when you mentioned like opens business, I was like, how many boarded up businesses are there in Dream Harbour? Because every time we get the story, thankfully the first two, at least they were established businesses. But like, how is their economy thriving? How?
Oh,
We're going
no idea.
to have some sort of different festival. It was nice to have a return. You mentioned it already in the summary, but the Festival of Lights and Joy, etc. It was nice to have a return to that.
It didn't sound that good, the Festival of Lights and Joy.
Oh my God, it didn't. And they tried so hard to make it sound, but it just sounded like Birmingham Christmas Market.
It sounded a bit shit. I was like, oh, it's the festival. Like, what is it gonna be like? Like the best Christmas market you've ever heard of? Nah, sounded a bit shit. Jeannie was giving out hot chocolates for free. Your profit margins can't sustain this, Jeannie. Come on.
And what did it? The whole point was like it was a business technique because people would have a free hot chocolate and then buy other drinks. No, they fucking wouldn't. I
You
would just
wouldn't.
I would just be going up every single time, just sinking hot chocolates. Someone would have to roll me home.
Want a coffee? No, I
Oh, and
don't.
how much is the coffee? $6. I'll have another free hot chocolate, thank you. Mm,
Is the hot chocolate still free though? Yeah. Oh
yeah,
yeah, yeah, that's still free. Keep it coming.
yeah.
Keep it coming.
If anything, can I just lie under the vat and you just pour it into my mouth? Yeah.
Here's a bucket I brought from home. Could you just fill this, please? Oh, nonsense. Absolute nonsense. It just sounded rubbish. She was there doing that. There was a stage and there was children singing. I think that was the extent of the Christmas magic.
Call me cynical, but that really. that were really shit on a Christmas market for me. And now we've got the local kids to sing off key. Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah, it just sounded a bit, yeah. And I was disappointed because I thought we finally got a Christmas book. And really, if anyone was going to do Christmas well, it should have been Laurie Gilmore.
It should have been the Dream Harbour people, is what I thought you were going to say.
Mm.
But yes, one and
No,
the same, I suppose. Everyone in Dream Harbour is clearly very rich because there's no business that ever fails.
never.
And everyone's got an immense amount of spare time. So maybe it's this wonderful, perfect town where everyone retires after a big, high city life with so much money, they've got not much more to do with it. And yet, somehow, despite being part of America, has the sort of currency exchange of somewhere like Hungary or Greece.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's supposed to be idyllic. I think you're right, probably in the terms of these people have had quite stressful lives and then have moved somewhere and it's quite low stakes and everything's quite wonderful and positive and that's great. But she does choose careers that are not typically stress-free. Like running a cafe, that's not going to be easy to make money from. Running an independent bookshop, come on, with a Kindle, that's going to be a tough sell. And then being a fisherman, I assume he sustains the entire town. Like he will provide all the fish, all the seafood for the town. How much effort and work would that take?
Yeah, you're right as well. And when you said jobs that take effort, but also jobs that don't pay typically an awful amount.
No, not well.
But
Where
when
do they live? They all live in the business. Like Jeannie lives above the shop.
she's
Can't remember where Hazel lives. She's moved in with Logan now
she's
on a
moved to Logan up at the farm,
on a farm. Again, at work. Nobody leaves their work. Everyone just lives where they work.
and yeah, Hazel has a house. I think Hazel specifically had a house, and then clearly Noah used to live on his boat or some or in those little
They all
ram.
lived in the sea probably at this point.
Um, and they've clearly moved in together or not, like also can't our biggest bugbear, obviously one of our many bugbears with Sin and Bun Bookstore, is the fact that they get married on holiday, or there's this do we know if they got married on holiday? Like they just get introduced. I thought there was going to be a this is my husband, or or we might have gotten like a oh yeah they fucking eloped without telling us. Nothing.
Yeah. Yeah, bants from the friend group because the friend group sounds fucking annoying as well, don't they? They're tuning at each other's business all the time.
It's because there's nothing else there to do.
Nobody even wants to be friends with each other. It's just out of pure, you are in the vicinity of me and I have no other options. Because life doesn't exist outside of Dream Harbour. Once again, we meet a character who has got family outside of Dream Harbour, and once again, we don't meet them and they don't come into the story. They're on the phone, they're over text, but we don't get introduced to them.
Thank God Kira's twin sister is already married because she'd be in it in 4 books' time.
True. Maybe she'll get divorced. If she doesn't marry a Dream Harborian, she's not going to be happy in life. That's what I've learned.
Fuck Rory and Alex, basically. But gotta get ourselves to this mythical town of Dream Harbour,
Yeah, that's
um,
it.
where of course all the men are fucking perfect and fit.
Perfect. What was the storyline with Jeannie and Logan and that Jeannie bought Logan wedding bands?
Oh, so they did Secret Santa. Wait, what? There's 4 of them. Like that's not even a fucking Secret Santa. Um, so what? It was Bennett, Jeannie,
Hmm.
Annie, Hazel,
Hmm.
and Noah. Oh, and
Noah,
Logan.
yeah.
Yeah. And what? So Jeannie fixed it so she'd get Logan,
Yeah,
and she made a decision for their wedding for him
to
with
buy
Bennett.
wedding bands. And he
With
cried,
yeah,
which is fine. That's not the bit that's icky. It's just the fact that he just instantly goes with it and doesn't have any say on any of it. It's like, oh, okay, wedding bands have been chosen.
but like the thing about these wedding bands, it's like oh so touching is that they've got each other's one initial in it.
Hmm. I know. Couldn't you have put like a quote? I mean, I know it's cheese balls, right? I understand, but we're already established this is a cheesy book. And sometimes if you just lean into that cheesiness, I would respect you more. But
Yeah,
you could have put a quote from the first bloody book or a nickname or something, a callback, and put it on the wedding bands, and people would have been like, ah, that's cute. I remember that.
like I mean, obviously, I don't think the first book is as quotable, like quote heavy as perhaps the Cinnamon Bun Bookstore is. Like, with the way they wrote the words to each other, or like the things for each other. But yeah, still, just give us a little more. Like it's that thing again of like not committing 100%. Like you're trying
Exactly.
trying to
Yeah.
two camps. Like you can't be both the Hallmark book and sort of like, oh, but that's too like silly. Like embrace it, and maybe that's what rankles us every time.
Well, think about the two films we just watched. The Merry Gentleman, what does he buy her? A wreath necklace because their meet cute involves him putting up a garland. Disgusting, but we get it. Hot Frosty, a snowflake necklace because he's a fucking snowman. That's like just lean into it. It's okay to lean into it.
It's a lack of, which is weird. It's a lack of commitment, despite the fact we know that there are five books.
Exactly.
Like
Yeah.
still only five. There could be more.
Oh,
Um,
I think there's going to be more. Like I know the last book we know of is Annie and Mac, and I feel like that is for those are her top tier couple. She is working her way up to that enemies to lovers goodness that everybody wants. But there's got to be more after that.
my favorite thing is that when you and I were discussing these books and what was coming, you went, "Who the hell's Mac?" And I was like, "Really, Amy? Really? He's been in it since book one. Like, I mean, look, he doesn't get the chance to speak an awful lot." So
The main guy that everybody's waiting for, his story, it's like, can't wait for Annie and Mac. I'm just sat there thinking, oh, who's this guy?
he
I don't
is.
know it.
Is he new to Dream Harbour? Oh,
What did you think if we're talking about cheesiness and quotability, perhaps in the future, if there was ever going to be a callback to this book? What did you think about the nickname Peaches?
oh God, forgotten it. I mean, it definitely adds into Bennett being so fucking bland that the only thing I can think of is, oh, she's from Georgia, is she? Wait, what's Georgia good for? Oh, Georgia peaches. Yeah, I'll do that. And also, she's kind of a peach, so.
It was a whole, it was just awful. And once he said it once, I felt like it was in every other page.
Oh God, yeah, I would be interested to. I'm going to see if I can do a search for it to see how many times peaches comes up. And normally, there's like an appropriate sort of nickname, and but she just goes, "Can I call you Ben?"
I know. But what? My natural nickname that everybody already calls me. Yeah.
The name my sister calls me. Yeah, all right. 28 times.
I mean, you might think for a full book that's not that bad, but he only starts calling her it in chapter 18.
It has picked up things like my little Georgia peach.
Oh.
Um, yeah, you're right. He does start calling her it in chapter 18, and my God, it's everywhere.
I was thinking for me, like if Rudy was going to call me a delicacy from where I'm from originally, it would be like haggis.
I was gonna say, would it be my little haggis? What would I would be Alex's little Nuki brown ale.
I mean, it doesn't work, does it? There we go. We've disproved it. Peaches is arguably a little bit better, but still gross.
The sex. So you said quite maybe an initial good sex scene, and then the rest of it was like basically all of the same.
I just don't think any of the sex scenes really did it for me.
Interesting, interesting. Please elaborate.
I think it was because it felt very obvious that Laurie was trying to make us think that Bennett was like this animal in the bedroom, and he was like, he might be such a good guy, but he's like dominant and he's got a filthy mouth. And I knew where it was going and I could see it coming a mile away. And I think I was just waiting for that to happen, and it just didn't work for me. I felt a bit cringed out reading it.
Hmm. I will get on my little soapbox again, and I'm sorry for everyone that's listening to this being like, can we not go one fucking episode without getting on a soapbox?
Nope.
Unfortunately, I think what she's trying to do is give us the perfect, again, air quotes, perfect man that's
Mm.
really kind and nice and caring, but when it matters, will ram us in the fucking vagina. But we don't all want that. God, what I would give to have a book, and I know this is not the point of these books, I know, just what I would give for writers to extol the virtues of other forms of intimacy, like because it's again, it's in circulation and it's telling people that if you don't have an active or healthy sex life, then you're not worth shit. And then you've got
Mhm.
people who are asexual, aromantic, that are like, all right, cool, so I guess I'm never going to be able to have a fun, healthy relationship.
Mm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, there's just never, I mean, there is build up. There is a little bit of something at the start before there's like penetrative sex. I get that. There's something there. But it always just feels like they're just paying lip service to it. And
Yeah.
it never feels like anything other than we're just waiting to get to the main event. Like, do you know, I don't know. There's never as much time spent. There's never, it feels like that's just, you just get that out the way, and then we can talk about the main thing.
I find it really strange, and this may be too graphic for some people. Maybe our listenership's going down because we're discussing this in depth now. Do you find that it's so unbelievable when like women are being pleasured in either orally or whatever? I was going to say fingularly, and I was like, I
Digitally.
yeah, oh, that is better. I was gonna say that's why I was like, oh, whatever, because I couldn't think of the word. But like, and they're always like, oh, just put it in me. Oh, I can't wait any longer. I'm like, nah, we're getting pleasure from the first few things. Why don't I have an orgasm first and then we'll see how I feel? Like, no one, no one I know, no one I've ever spoken to, any of my friends has ever just like, oh, I just can't wait. Just can't. I'm gonna get rid of this current pleasure that I'm having to put a fucking object inside of me.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think anyone's waiting for that to end. Like, let's just get that bit out the way. No. And for books that are, and I feel like these kinds of books are aimed at a very particular audience. And you would think that the audience they are aimed at would appreciate more of that representation in the book. And then it's not there. And you do so many other things, I think, to tick a box and, sell books to people that want a book that literally goes through a list of things they're looking for and is just full of tropes. Why don't you do it when it comes to sex? I don't get it.
Yeah, we not focusing on the sort of oral elements because it's seen as dirty again? Like, is it seen as something that like men don't enjoy? Like, I've not met a man that doesn't enjoy oral sex.
I
Uh,
feel like I feel like in this book, to be fair, she doesn't ever say that. She hasn't got any shame
no,
around it, which is good. That's refreshing to read.
but then it
And
becomes
he seen as a really, yeah, he is. Yeah, no, you're right. He is. He is. It's one of his one of his crowning moments in the story that he wants to do this for her. I guess like we are supposed to think he's a good guy because of this, right?
yeah, and it's what there's something about like, oh, I want to pleasure you, you don't have to pleasure me. Oh my God, what a
Mhm.
fucking star. That's the low bar. Like,
The bar
some,
is so low.
God forbid, sometimes it's not quid pro fucking quo. Like, but
Mhm.
but also, do you not think? I know that they don't mention it in this book that like she's like, oh, you don't have to go down there. It's all dirty and shameful. But do you think by omitting it or making it faster, that's sort of the what's being said?
I just don't think that a lot of the authors know how to write it well. Like to write it and I've read it written well. I've read it written really like it's really sexy and it really works. But I just think that some of them don't. And I do think a lot of the authors really don't appreciate the skill involved in writing a good smut scene or a good sex scene. I think some people think I'm just going to put it in. This is the natural part of the story to put it in, and they don't. I feel like they don't work on it the same way they do perhaps the rest of the book. It doesn't have as much appreciation for how skilled you need to be to write it. And there are some incredibly talented people that write spicy books, and they're not cheap and they're not trashy and they're not like Mills and Boone. They are really well written books.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And I think I'm starting to appreciate as we're going on, maybe, and I never thought I would ever say this, little 18-year-old me is shaking in her fucking boots, but I never thought I would appreciate a closed door scene.
That is what I'm saying, Liv. That, do you know, I was thinking it and I thought, we've said so many times we like three chili spice. Do you know what? If you just write it well and the build up is hot and it's closed door, I prefer it.
Well, because then there's no, I'm not going to say there's no real risk, but then there's no, you might not, you've done the hard work of getting them to this bit because it's closed door, it's behind closed doors, of course it is, but because you don't see it, then you don't have to keep repeating it.
Yes.
We don't have
Or
to keep
or
having,
do something different. Maybe make the first time closed door and then maybe try something later where it's not closed door. I feel like we get a lot of we say this all the time, but we get a lot of the formula first time, fireworks, amazing, incredible, whatever. And then it just keeps happening through every chapter. And in these books in particular, she likes a sex scene right at the last chapter. We like a little extra, little last moment at the end. Yeah, yeah. A lot of it just kind of gave me the ick, especially the part where they find the kind of sexy letters between the characters in the loft, and then that gets them like turned on, and I'm like,
oh, yeah, don't get me wrong. I enjoyed the sort of the sexy letters, like, because I was like, oh, this is a different dynamic. It was almost like any excuse to have a bonk fest, right?
Exactly. If I knew it was coming, I'm sure you're reading it, you were thinking, well, they're going to have sex now, because obviously that's what this is here for. We're making it a sexy letter to not sort of show you that these characters from the past had a relationship that was built on physical intimacy too, but just so that these guys in the present can have an excuse to have sex in the loft.
Which is weird because they don't need an excuse. They're two consenting adults who are either in a relationship or not. Like it doesn't matter. They don't need the excuse of finding sexy letters to be like, oh, should we do it again? Just do it again.
Do it
Like,
again. Like, I feel like if you discovered those letters from like with in real life, you wouldn't be like, I am down to clown, would you? You would just be like, oh, that's an intimate letter from somebody. Like, bit weird that I found that, and probably feel like I shouldn't really have, read that because it was a private thing. But oh, that's nice that they had that relationship.
I
Don't
mean,
think I'd be instantly all about it.
I'm not sure I'm gonna say either way because having not been in that experience and that situation where I've been up in someone's loft in a house that I've bought or whatever, and there's been some bang bang good time letters, um,
Mm.
I can't say for sure that I wouldn't then be DTF.
Hmm.
But also down to clown, perfection. It maybe
Don't
it's
know.
an element of voyeurism, which look, I'm interested in the element of like the what she's trying to do, but I don't think she's actually trying to be voyeuristic, sexy, or a bit like, ooh, I'm a bit different, and dangerous. She's just giving us an excuse for why they'd bang.
Mm-hmm. The sexy talk thing again, the things he was saying, I understand why she was using those kinds of words because she wants to make him seem like he might be a nice guy in some ways, but he's a strong man in the sheets, like he's gonna take care of you. Blech. I just felt gross reading it. It was that scene where she's giving him a blowjob. I was like, oh no.
I mean, I've absolutely blocked it from my memory. I have no memory of what words were used, but I didn't mind so much the commanding when he says, I mean, don't get me wrong, peaches, but it was more like, oh, take off your clothes, peaches. Like that's sort of like we're cutting to the chase, stop fucking around. I liked that element because she was flipping and flapping. But what I really would have liked to have seen is him letting her control take control and him getting
Mm.
on.
I thought we were going to get that element.
Yeah.
I thought he was maybe going to be the sub. And I was interested in reading that, but because it's different.
But
Oh,
God
it's just the
God
same words again, like the same thing. Such a good girl, swallow me, take it all.
Oh man,
Bennett,
sister girl,
no,
I know you can take it.
no. I didn't, it didn't, I wanted something different. I wanted a different dynamic. I actually thought we might get it. But again, is that because that's not going to sell to the mass market? That's not what people are typically looking for. I don't know.
Well, is it not? Surely enough, she has commanded enough of like I've written three of these books now. Do you know that is there not a point where I understand clearly you and I are not experts on the publishing industry, but when you have enough of a backing, surely you could do something a little different, a little creative. And
And
having
I
that
think, Yeah, I agree. And I think with the way that things are nowadays, with like, oh, smut and spice, and people get bored reading the same thing over and over again. They want something new. That's why dark romance is popular, I assume, because you're pushing boundaries, you're reading about things that you've maybe never read about before, and everything else becomes a little bit like tame because you've read so much of it and you're looking for the next thing to shock you almost.
Yeah, do you wonder whether there's maybe a sweet spot where she's written this to be like, this is for the undoctrinated into the spice. This is the sort of the, oh, you
Maybe.
can have a little bit like the two chilies, the three chili, like, with a little bit of danger added in with the I know you can take it, swallow me, etc. But I don't think there's anything wrong with what we'd suggested of him being a more of a sub, or like even if you don't want to go full sub, you don't want to go full sub, that's fine. You could have it that he's a power bottom.
I think that lean into it. Like he obviously likes to do things to help people. Acts of service is his love language. Why not just call him a good guy, a good boy? Why not?
Yeah, that's it.
It
That's
can
it.
work.
It goes both ways, and that's the problem. This is why these books come off as, despite trying to be like women forward and like all this sort of thing, it just doesn't land because you don't have that element of, even if there was a bit that was like, oh yeah, you are a good boy, and he's like, oh, not sure how I feel about that. Oh,
Do
okay.
I quite? Do I not? Yes.
And then they have a fucking conversation about it. I know it's not the sexiest thing in the fucking world, but it is informative and it is just like, oh, I'm paying a little homage to the fact that I know I could do this, but if anything, I'm middle of the road, you know? I just
Yeah, or even we had his POV this time, so why not even just do a little bit of like she says something like that to him, and then we get his point of view where he's like, I strangely felt good. Like that made me feel like, all right, okay.
and then
Maybe not right now, but in the future it could be something they want to explore.
or you don't have to flog a dead horse and you can just assume that's what they do every fucking time they fuck. That's, I you mentioned a really interesting point before about like the demographic for these books, and clearly it's mostly female. And you mentioned it when we were talking about oral sex as well, but I think it applies here as well. Like, what woman wouldn't also be turned on by the woman in the book taking control during sex?
Exactly. I agree.
Even
I
if
agree.
even if it's not in whoever the reader's nature, like you said about dark romance, like we people like to read about different scenarios and fantasies and things that may never happen. That's absolutely fine. But so it still applies. So I don't understand the hesitation.
No, I don't. And again, is it just because she doesn't want to take a risk? She doesn't want to take any risks. And that's why none of the characters have any real flaws and why there's always something for us that just misses the mark. And I think slight adjustments would make these books even better for even the people that read them. I think they would still enjoy them.
Yeah. Do you think, because you and I have sort of had this little thing where we'll text each other being, oh, Laurie's listened when we read the next book. Do you think the next book, the strawberry shortcake, whatever, with
Mhm.
Iris and her nanny job for a daddy, do you think we're going to get this? Because obviously pumpkin spice, I don't know what we didn't like about pumpkin spice that we got in Cinnamon Bun Bookstore. Actually, nothing. But we said we condemned her for her lack of character. We got more character in this book. Are we going to condemn her for her lack? We're like condemning her for a lot, but mostly her lack of exploration in sex scenes. Are we going to get that next book?
I hope so. I hope we get a few different dynamic shifts next book. I hope we get a real flawed character who has to put a lot of work into sorting themselves out and being, loving themselves or becoming different, maybe not necessarily better, but making some kind of progress in order to then be in a relationship with someone. I think that would be good to read.
I mean, look, maybe we're not going to get the whole hog. Maybe we're not going to get that. But would somebody please visit a therapist? Would some
Please. Maybe he's a therapist. He's a new character.
interesting?
Town
Oh,
fucking needs one. Just saying. Just giving you ideas if you are listening.
clearly there's something about these books that brings us back. They do have a way of pulling you in. But I just think,
Listen, yeah, I said at the start of the episode, there were times reading this book that I felt I was having a good time, and I stand by that. It was festive. It was wholesome, it was easy to read, it was quick. I wasn't reading it just been like, oh, please finish. Like once we got to the kind of sex scenes bit after the snowstorm, I was a bit like, oh, here we go, like skip, skip, not really that interested in this part. But up until then, there were times I actually was having quite a good time reading it.
Yep. Yeah, and we haven't even mentioned, which do very, very, very quickly, the main draw of the fucking book, which is the dogs.
Yay, the dog. And yeah, fun. Don't think her whole personality had to be that she likes dogs. That's her only redeeming quality, but whatever. Yeah.
Quickly, can we discuss the fact that she adopted a pit bull? Yay, representation, very sweet. At the end, called Bennett.
Yeah.
I
But
was just
why?
like, oh God. Fair enough if you fell in love with him, but she says specifically, oh no, well, that was probably part of the reason I adopted him. And look, Bennett's down with it, so that's fine, whatever, man. But like, you can't call out a name and sex at the same name as your dog. I'm just saying.
No. I don't even understand what the thought process behind that was, to be honest. Again, it's that feeling of these characters do not exist outside their relationship. I could not imagine Kira being her own person. She's not her own person at any point. She's never happy on her own. You never see her successful, really, in the story. We had the same complaint about Jeannie's business and that we felt there was more she could do to make it a success. I want to see these characters striving and achieving things by themselves before they are in a relationship. That's what I would like to see next time.
You're right. It would be nice to maybe have something that's not solely driven by the relationship.
Let's hope so. And maybe not another scavenger hunt again, because we've done it twice now. I feel like we don't need another series of letters.
I can't imagine what the next story is going to be, the next mystery element. We know that it's basically she becomes a nanny for his child, and look, don't get me wrong, I do enjoy a nanny dynamic. So I'm hesitantly positive. Oh, are you reading?
I'm reading to see what his profession is because
Oh
small
yeah.
town, what's he bringing to the community? He's a chef.
All right. So to be fair, we haven't had any sort of restaurant or cafe. Well, I know that's a lie. I've just we haven't got any kind of restaurant.
Oh. He has a daughter called Olive, and Olive is determined to play matchmaker between her dad and her nanny.
Oh,
Why is the
no.
child getting involved?
That's it. We do not. There is one dynamic that, where is one character that didn't need to be introduced, and that is a child.
Nope. And it does say at the end, tropes, single dad, forced proximity, slow burn, found family, and one bed.
What is the kid going to be in there as well?
Why is
Ah,
there only one bed? In a fantasy setting, it makes sense. You know, in a modern day setting, when you're living in a house.
especially when you're living in Dream Harbour, and it seems like it's small enough to walk across.
Mhm.
Oh, it's fine. It's fine. Maybe we're going outside. Do you know what? I don't even want to speculate. Don't even. I don't even care enough to speculate. We'll see it in March or whenever it's fucking coming out.
Final thoughts?
I thought I liked it coming into it, and now I'm annoyed with it. Yeah, I think if someone said, "Oh, I'm thinking of picking up pumpkin spice," I would be like, "Pumpkin spice is good. Book and skip cinnamon bun bookstore. I mean, if you want to be a completionist, but yeah, no, then Christmas Tree Farm does get better." I can't say I would recommend it to a friend like solidly. I think you needed to have read the first two to even appreciate any of some of the other supporting characters or whatever, and understand how these books go. So I'm gonna say no. I'm not recommending it to a friend.
I agree. The only reason I would say to read it to someone is if they're looking for something festive. And as you say, it's a difficult book to read in isolation. I don't think you can really read it as a standalone. I think you do need to understand the setting and the other cast of characters because there's no real development for those characters in this story. So you would know nothing about them if you hadn't read the other two. So no, I would say if you're looking for something festive, there's plenty of other things that you could read.
You mentioned earlier, and this might be putting you on the spot a little, that there are writers who write beautiful sex scenes, great sex scenes. Do you have a few of those that we could recommend? They don't necessarily have to be books, but just the authors themselves, who write good sex scenes that if people are looking for something a bit different, something a bit good, something really sort of like engaging, what could we read?
I would say Pam Godwin.
Big up Pam.
I got Pam, uh, Sierra Simone.
I was gonna say Sarah Simone. We've mentioned her a couple of times. You've mentioned her specifically as well. Like, yeah, yeah. Okay, so if you're looking for something a bit more, these sex scenes have left you with a bit of a drought in the nether regions. Then big old Pam Godwin.
Mhm. But trigger warnings, it's dark romance and some it's the same as Sierra Simone. You need to make sure you go in with an understanding of what you're going to be getting yourself into. But if you're going in with your eyes open, the way that the scenes are written are a definite step up.
Okay, so as always, we recommend to read any and all trigger warnings if you are worried with this sort of genre, etc. But yeah, if you know, so just be careful, guys, in what you read. But yeah, next week, Amy,
We're back to films again.
it's our last
Woo-hoo-hoo.
films of the year.
Hmm. We felt like we were maybe, I don't think we were unfairly harsh. I think that's not true. But we felt like we had picked two Netflix offerings this year that maybe didn't quite do what we wanted them to do, didn't quite scratch the itch of the festive feelings we wanted to find. So we did outsource and we have asked family, friends, other people, what have they watched on Netflix this year? What have they enjoyed? What do they think are the kind of standouts of the many, many Netflix festive films? I feel like every time I switch Netflix on, there's more that pop up. So yeah, we've chosen two more that we think we might like slightly better.
Yeah, well, I think we've given ourselves a bit of a leg up, haven't we? We've chosen That Christmas, so
Mhm.
an animated film. Which can you go wrong with an animated film? Yes, but hopefully not as horrifically as others. And then what was the other one?
Our Little Secret. I
Yeah,
like the premise of this one. This one sounds to me like if I was picking up a contemporary romance and this was a story, I would read it. So, yeah, we have two exes who didn't end things on good terms, and then they have to spend Christmas together because they learn that their new partners are actually siblings.
it could happen.
It is, and I'm hopeful for maybe they try and kind of start off by making each other look bad to
Mm,
their partner, try and get them to maybe end the relationship, so to remove that kind of awkwardness. And then eventually maybe they realize that the reason they're trying to do that is not because they want them to be separated so that they don't have to see them, but actually so that they can swoop in and
yeah.
rekindle some of their romance. So I'm looking really forward to it. I think it'll be a good one. So we're going to try two films that are getting, well, in our circles, much better responses and reviews, and see if Netflix can redeem itself.
Damn right. But yeah, for the next couple of weeks, we have then Christmas Carol on the 23rd of December to get you right into the mood just before the big day. And then the week after, we are going to wrap up our 2024, our first year as a podcast, with a little, very quick awards show, maybe giving out some prizes to some of the books we've read, giving you our own top three choices, and telling you what we're looking forward to in 2025. Page Turners Pod on the socials at Instagram and TikTok, and podcastpageturners@gmail.com. Email us for whatever. And Amy put up a poll last week. Go and tell us what your favorite Netflix Christmas film is, and I'll try and think of a poll for this week. Thank you so much for listening,
Yeah.
guys.
Thank you for listening. If you didn't know, you can, if you are going to click other in the poll, please leave a comment and tell us what the other film is. It'd be good for us to know
We,
for some more
we love
recommendations.
we just love a comment anyway, even if it's fucking shitting on us, guys. Just give us fucking content. Just let us engage with you.
Let's engage. Let us engage. But in the meantime, have fun, have some festive times, and be good. Bye.
Bye.